Righto, good afternoon everybody. Can you hear me at the other end there? Cool, righto. So, welcome to today's session. So we're going to do Attack of the Clones today. So this is talk about the Navigator, how we use it, the project map, view sets, layouts, and how to export to publishers and stuff like that. So as you guys have missed sort of the introductory sessions, or the introductory session, what we're looking to do is basically if ArchiCAD was a car, this is what it would look like, a nice Formula One racing car, 300 odd kilometers an hour. But most of us drive it like it's some old 1920s Austin or something like that. But through these courses, we want to get you all up to speed so that you can get out there and cruise around in it like it's a nice new Audi. It might not be a Formula One, but we'll be able to do a lot of stuff and go a bit faster with our ArchiCAD. So we're going to work with just part of the Silta project. So that load up. Now, first of all, with the Navigator over here, I notice a lot of people work for, and I know the reason being that maximizing screen real estate. So you work with the Navigator tucked away over here. So every time you want to do something, go to a different view, you need to double click, open the Navigator, find what it is you want to do, and go from there, and then come back and it disappears again. So then when you want to change view, you've got to go back across the screen and pick the view you want to do. So one of the things I always recommend is to keep the Navigator open on the side of your screen. Just lock it or dock it onto the side. I'll show you how to do that once we get up. Okay, now we're open. So if we just click on here and just leave show Navigator, it will sit there on the side of the screen no matter what you do, and then you just have to flick across here and flick through the views to choose the one you want. So it just saves a little bit of time here and there. It all adds up at the end of the day. Another thing I've experimented, sometimes I've tried with the Navigator sitting on my second screen. I find that's probably just a wee bit less convenient. The fact that you've got to go across the screen and sometimes your mouse, skips depending on the coordination of the screens and stuff like that. So I generally recommend keeping it here so that it's easy to find and it doesn't take up too much room at the end of the day. So if we work through the Navigator here, so we've got the 4 different buttons up here. The first one is the project map. So this is where everything that we do in the project is kept. So every story comes in here under a story. So every time we create a new story, it gets added in there. We're not saving things like floor plans or ceiling plans or furniture plans or anything like that specifically in here, because these contain all of the raw data for the project. Same, so we come down here, so it's split up into the main tools that ArchiCAD uses. So we've got our stories, our sections, our elevations, interior elevations, our worksheets, our details, 3D documents that we create, 3D view settings that we save, schedules, indexes, lists, information, and the help. So basically how this works too is if you take a note of any of these settings down here, if you're in another view, just say you're in, I'll come into this one here. So if we're in this view set here and we've got a custom layer combination and the standard pen sets that we've got for this view. Now if I switch back to just say one of the stories, so we just go back to the 4th story, it carries through the same settings that were in that last view we got. So we would then have to, if we wanted to change anything, come in here and choose our layer combination or our layers and show it. So from there we move into our view map. Now this is where we save all our customized view settings. So on here we've got our floor plans for each floor, and if you'll notice here, if we go 6th floor, it will have all of these saved for that particular view set. Let me get there. So if we want to save anything different, so just say we wanted to have a view set where all the zones were hidden, we could come in here and hide our zones, which are, I'll hide all of them. So hide all those, bang. And now we want to save this as another view. So we come up here and not too far. Sorry, we can go on a folder. Oh, where are we going here? This is, oh, sorry, it's changed a wee bit in 21. Oh, find this on my other screen here. Hold on, sorry about that. Come here. No, that's not what I wanted to actually show you. So, hold on, we're going to here. Oh, sorry, they've actually changed this since 20 and I haven't picked up on what they've done. Save current view, right, they've moved it down here. So now we can go in here and save our view to whatever we want. We can give it a custom name, so we'll just call this, say, floor plan without zones. And this was storage 6, so custom. And we can create, and then it gives us this view setting in here. So we can create whatever view sets we want in here. So that's how, like our ceiling plans, all those sorts of things, we can create them with this Save Current View button. And they'll turn up in here. So, and again, okay, we have our standard views that we generally use, but if you're working on a drawing and you find maybe that performance-wise it's going slow and you want to just hide a whole lot of stuff that's not relevant to what you're doing, this is where you can create just some custom view sets or custom views so that you can work quicker or work easier. So, and a good practice would be to say maybe append your initials or something to the drawing so that you know who set it up and what it is, because we don't want them sort of clogging a file. And then another good practice when working in this view set is to use some well-structured folders. I've noticed a lot of projects that we've worked on, these view sets here get clogged up with hundreds and hundreds of different views just randomly placed and saved, and then no one knows what that view is, where it is, or how it relates to the drawing book out here, the layout book. So one good practice would be grouping all of the say the floor plans as we've done here, grouping them all in one folder, and then if we wanted to create another folder here, we'll call this one floor plans without zones. We can manually keep those ones that we've created in there if we don't need all the floors. So good practice is to keep some folders and arrange your drawings in those. So in this one here, we've done them by say types of drawing. You could easily do it by rooms, and in this project here, especially say we are doing the wall elevations as well, so we could have another folder over here. Wrong one. Okay. We could create another folder here called Otilas One. Give it a random number 1, and then when we create our internal elevations, so we'll go over here. So we'll create interior elevations in here. Through there, and then choose the essay. So you'll see that in here we have now just created this lot of internal elevations here, Santa Cavio. So if we wanted to then include these in the Podlas Finding drawings, we would then come to the organizer. Oh, sorry, it's on the other screen. And I'll bring that across here. So now we want to take those Santa Cavio drawings into this folder here. So we grab them and put them across there. And now we have them in that folder as internal elevations related to the drawings that we're putting together for this one. So with this Podlas Finding here as well, maybe we want to have a floor plan of this at bigger scale. We can bring it around here. And so we want to have a floor plan at 1:20. We can then, there we go. So our folders, when you've got a manually created folder, we can right click on there and save current view. So that's right, the difference between the two folders is these are a cloned folder and these are a manually created folder. I'll tell you the difference about those in a minute if you don't know. So now we've created our view of this room here with 1:20. We've set our layer combination that we want, so we're just going to stick with custom. We've set up our pen sets, our renovation filter, our graphic overrides, and then we can then save this current view into this folder, and we'll just give it, say, the room number we've given it, and we'll call it Podlas Finding floor plan, and bang, that sticks in that folder as well. So then we can go along, and if we want to create all those views for different rooms, we can do that. So we can create separate folders and keep it all nice and tidy. So if we go back to what these folders are, we've got cloned folders and we've got manually created folders. Now, this here is a cloned folder of all the floor plans, and if you right click on that and go to our view settings, it'll tell you what the default setting is for any view that comes into that folder. So now, being a clone means that anything you create in this area, so this is a clone of the stories, so any stories you add will automatically add to this folder here. Any sections you create will automatically create a view in the sections folder with the same parameters, layer settings, graphic overrides, renovation filters, dimension sets in the clone folder of the project map here, the view sets. So, this one here. Now, one thing to remember, well, another thing too is that, like, we've got here the floor plans. We could equally recreate that folder with the settings that we've got here. So if we wanted to create the folder again, but maybe we'll go back to, say, 1 to 100, and we wanted the zones hidden for whatever reason, we can now go clone folder. We choose stories. We can set up our parameters in here, so it will default to whatever we've got set up down here, first of all. But if you want to change any of those, so we said, oh no, we actually want another layer combination, so we can choose in here or change the scale, whatever we want. Change the dimension settings, so we can go from millimeters to meters or inches and feet for anything in America. So then we can go clone, and it's now set us up this folder with the same parameters here. One thing to remember with the clone folder is you can't now go through and delete something. So if in the sections, say, I don't need that section anymore, and actually they've taken this out in 21, you can't physically delete it without deleting the whole folder. So in here, you can delete a view and it won't affect anything. So that's something to remember if you're working actually in an older version. So anything from 20 backwards, you can actually delete from within the clone folder. But what it does is it deletes the whole folder. So it gives you a warning, and then if you go OK, it'll take it all out. So that's basically how cloning works, and the relationship between the project map and the view sets, or view map. And now layout book, obviously everyone is probably reasonably familiar with the layout book. You know, we create the page and we drag our drawings onto it. I have noticed sometimes people drag views from the project map onto their layout book, which is not good practice because you don't have the pre-formatted settings of the drawing, so you end up with just the raw drawing or the raw data from what's ever in here. So if you're going to be dragging drawings onto the layout book, we need to be doing it from here. So this is why it makes so much sense to have our folder structure set up in a nice, tidy way so that we know what we're dragging to where. So in the case of that Populous Finding one, we could come in here now and drag all of those drawings across, or the elevations, and put them onto this drawing page. And yeah, it knows where they all come from. So then when you know that, you know, from our layout book, if we're doing room projections for room number 1, that means our views come from the same folder name in the view map, so we don't get lost. Yeah, it's taking a while. Oh, come on. Right, so we just delete that original drawing from there, and then we can arrange these drawings come on. Can arrange these drawings on the sheet here, and then when we want to find where they are, it's easy enough to go back when we right-click from here and link back to the place we've gone. Oh, come on, it's taking so long. Sorry about this. We'll get there shortly. All right, we seem to have had a bit of an issue. I think it's probably our networking issue we've been having at the moment with our licenses. So has anyone got any questions then on the layout book, view maps, anything that I might have missed that you want to know about? Okay. Oh, well, and the other thing that I was going to tell you when this stops freezing. Oh, get out of here. See what we can do. Oh no, we're completely frozen. Is to use, wherever you can, automatic labeling for the placement of the drawings like we've got in this view here. Rather than, I've seen a lot of times here, we'll place a view and then we will go through and, here we go. And then we'll go through and manually label it. So if we turn on our automatic labeling, so this means that it will take the view name from the information that we've already got set up in these parts of the project. Now, good practice is to get into naming things in here correctly as you would like them to be throughout the project as well. So Keros 1 or floor 1, floor 2, floor 3, section A, section B, interior elevation, XYZ1, XYZ2, XYZ3, things like that. Because then when you come into the view sets here, we can, in the settings, we can get it to automatically then assign the ID and the name from the project map. So it saves us having to rename anything, and I can tell it gets very confusing if you start in a big project, start putting custom names in here while you've got a different name for the same thing in here. I've seen cases where someone's had the detail markers and rather than rearrange the detail numbering in here, they've done it in this section. And so in here, detail 5 might have been detail 1 in here, and detail 6 might have been detail 10 on the other side. So it's really confusing. So if you can start working simply and smartly right from the start, it saves a lot of problems. Because then when we come through to the layout book like here, so if we go back to that view we're on now, okay, so we're on Sino Cabio 1. So if we went through here in the settings, I've got the project map, sorry, we go back to the project map. And if we tell it here, again, we can also set this up automatically from the tool. So it's even smarter to use it from the tool than even from here. But if I've just said here that we are room elevation 1, that should then carry through wrong one. Hold on, settings. Let's try here. Okay, so this one here's name has been changed to room elevation 1, which then is carried through to here. And then if we go back to the drawing sheet we're on, it's now carried through to the layout book. So not once have we had to manually, well, only once have we had to put the name, but nowhere on the drawing sheets have we had to worry about putting names. So that means that if later on the room number changes, the elevation ID changes, it's done automatically, and we don't really have to bother going through hundreds of drawings trying to renumber or rename or relabel or anything like that. And then the last stage of this area here is the publisher set, where we can export various views, PDFs, DVGs, IFCs, BIMX models, whatever we want. So again, we set them up in the Navigator organizer and choose that one. And then generally the layout book. If we go here to go up one level, so I've got a choice of, this is where we create all our different layout sets, so we can come in here and create a new layout set. So we'll call these ones PDF, and maybe we want to just take all the floor plans through to here. Sorry, I've got to open up and then through to here. So they're all PDFs. Now we could go back up and we'll now create a DVD set and open that up, drag them all through there, select them all, and then change the format down in here to whatever we want. So that's all your options. DVG, we can set up translators if we need, properties generally, and then we can go back up here, and this will tell us publishing properties, will tell us where we want to save the files to. So we can browse here to network go, network. And we could make a new folder there for DVDs. Okay. Okay. And then when we publish that, those files will end up in the same folder each time. So just it's a case of making sure when you do all these, set all these things up, take the time to put the file directory you want them to saved into. The correct formats, all that sort of stuff, and then makes life a lot easier at the end of the day. So yeah, that's pretty much everything I can pass on today for view sets and Navigator. So yeah, thanks all for joining us, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers, bye.